The Safety Task Force podcast is arming you with the necessary tools to combat safety in our fast-paced, dynamic world. Our interviews bring you the latest and greatest safety solutions from industry experts. If you're new to the industry or looking for ways to expand your knowledge and stay up to date with global safety trends, this podcast is for you. We are back this week for another episode of Safety Task Force. Today I have Josh Smith from WPRP. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thanks, Emily. Happy to be here.
Josh, help us get to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at WPRP.
Sure. So, I love to travel and endure the pains of running races long distance and short, and the occasional tough mudder. At work, I'm the owner and the president, and I get a chance to work with all my team members from accounting to marketing to sales and shipping to our wonderful dealers and vendors supplying products and solutions around the country. We give back to the community when we can and educate others along the way, such as our video series, Would You Like Fries with That?
So Josh, tell us, what are some of your biggest safety concerns as a wholesaler and distributor?
Biggest safety concerns as a wholesaler, distributor, and then also just in a work environment, I would definitely say is creating a safe environment. We have our warehouse workers, in my opinion, on the front lines, meeting different customers, drivers daily. So maintaining their safety and making sure they are educated to have the tools to remain safe and take the precautions needed. That's one of my biggest concerns, but then also having the resources available. Sometimes if you don't know, you just don't know. So being educated about the risks and then also what resources are available are huge in my opinion.
How do you communicate this with your team?
That's a great question. We have weekly meetings, which I call triple espresso, memos to our teams, and continued education and partnership with OSHA and our insurance providers. And for those that don't know what triple espresso is like a large pot of coffee and everybody's a bean, but together we make a really good pot of coffee. So everybody gets to announce what their bean is for the day. So if you're a happy bean, I'm going to get it done bean, great. And then together we're a really large pot of coffee. So every week we have our meetings, we get to get a vibe on everybody's, day and how things are going to kick off. But I think education and talking about some of the challenges and communicating is absolutely huge. So, and we do that weekly.
That's awesome. I love it. What is a way that you've communicated this to your customers?
So it's definitely something that you have to utilize the web for a lot more. We send updates to our customers through our monthly newsletters. We do an e-blast that goes out monthly. We also update our website monthly with the latest COVID-19 updates. It's very difficult trying to get that information in front of everybody's eyes. So you do have to use some creativity, and these have worked out really well for us. And then using proper signage on the buildings for in-person, knowledge is definitely power. So it's difficult. You have to put yourself in the same position of where you're going to be, and identify that. But we try to educate as much as we possibly can.
All right. Well, you had mentioned when we spoke prior to this interview that one of the biggest difficulties through all of this was creating a safe work environment that could remain open 100% of the time. What are some of the things that you've done to create this safer work environment, particularly as it relates to the pandemic over the past 6 to 8 months?
Absolutely. So this is a really interesting question. It's kind of interesting in the sense that took a pandemic to take it to this level, but I'm really proud about we've gone to a completely keyless company. We use key fobs now to enter into all the buildings. One of the first things that we did is we installed basically those kick plates that you can grab with your foot that you see at some of the restaurants to not grab any of the door handles.
Okay.
We installed touchless faucets throughout. So now when you go to wash your hands, you just put your hand underneath the faucet. You're not touching anything. Everything's automatic from our soap dispensers to anything that you need to, like hand sanitizer. Those are automatic. The key fob, you wave that in front, you can enter into the building. So paper towels are automatic. We've got dividers now set up, plexiglass and then PVC. So entering in the building for customers now, we have a PVC, which is OSHA approved. We took it a step further. We've got a really cool cage in the warehouse, which is actually compliments of Space Guard products, BeastWire. One of the things that I love about it is that we're educating customers and also our team members about some of the safety resources that are out there in the industry. So we're not only trying to provide a safe environment for our customers, our employees, but anybody that comes into the building that says that, wow, we're really taking attention to detail to try to make it a safer environment. So some of those things that we've done has really been a huge bonus for us with everybody that's at the company and or comes in contact with us.
So the cage that you put in the warehouse, that kind of leads into like security as well. Are there things that you've done from a security standpoint?
We have. Back in the day, anybody could come into the building, just wander around, right? So the cage was fantastic. Where it came a challenge for us was we have drivers on the forklifts all day and we're operating, and it's not as easy to just walk up and let somebody in. So we actually installed cameras for the security system that actually links to our iPads. So we have an app on the iPad with video, and when somebody comes on in, they can ring the bell, rings the iPads, and then you can communicate via video. And then our drivers are able to let anybody in or communicate if it's a question without having to be interrupted, and this has caused a huge plus for us, because not only from the automation standpoint, but even for our operators to feel safer in the environment and for the customers too.
Yeah, that's awesome. How have you managed to institute these safety and security solutions within a reasonable budget?
So that's a really good question. How do you put a budget on safety? So we, from a planning perspective or technology for us, we definitely took a list of things that we needed to do and shift the focus on items that we maybe were spending or had planned for the year. Certainly when COVID-19 hit, everybody took a look at their budget and some of their spending and put a halt on things. For us, really, truly it was a gradual. It wasn't just overnight. It was a gradual basis. We had certain things that we were planning on doing, but I'll tell you, back 6 months ago, I didn't know how much it was going to cost to install touchless faucets throughout the workplace. However, now after doing this and then seen the repercussions or the results of it, I would have done it a long time ago. Everybody deals with cold and flu seasons, and you don't need a pandemic just to create a safer environment.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys have been able to implement all of that. So how has this worked for you guys? Do you feel that this level of attention to detail for health and safety has influenced your team to address other items?
That's another great question. For us, it's been a positive experience coming into work and seeing new things added and talk about it with other team members, to share what we're doing and helping other businesses. It's been really rewarding. I know that everybody talks about some of the cool stuff that we're doing. It's rewarding to look at how we used to do things and then how we do them now. It's kind of the aha moment of, wow, there's some really cool features, and you don't have to just read about it in a magazine, but you actually get to utilize it. And I think it makes it a fun experience to be part of.
Have your employees given you feedback? Do they feel safe, or were any of the things that you installed like a direct result of something an employee suggested?
Yes, I would say I have one employee that I could quote, and his name's Matt Merrick, and he said to me, "I have never felt unsafe at any point. I haven't heard of anybody else feeling that way additionally." Off quote. A lot of the suggestions from employees come from taking a survey. When we have Triple Espresso, or when I do, every week I touch on COVID-19, and we'll send out a survey just to see, anything that we can do to make this a safer environment for you. It takes a lot of courage to come into work every day. And, it's important that you listen to what everybody's concerns are, because you are asking everybody to continue to keep coming in, but we haven't missed a beat. And I think that's a result of listening and taking some of the suggestions of, hey, what about doing a touchless faucets, or hey, what if we did more, set up a station for wiping down? I mean, every day before everybody leaves, every day, everyone takes 10 minutes before they leave and they wipe down their station. We have a deep cleaning that we do every week, and that means lift up your standing desk, clear off all your surfaces, and we do a deep cleaning. We have one of those backpacks that's powered, and we go around the office, the warehouse, and we spray everything down. So things like that is huge when if somebody were to question, do I feel safe?
Sure.
We have a laundry list, and I'm completely transparent of all the things that we do to make it a safer place to come into work.
So when do you know if what you're doing is safe enough?
So that's a great question as well. I always measure it by the feedback we receive. I ask weekly for feedback on improvements, and we post surveys. They're anonymous, which gives everybody the freedom, peace of mind to express themselves. So you can imagine that you can say what you want to, it's anonymous. And so if there was ever a concern, or if it came out through the pipeline that somebody was concerned, I could put out a survey. I could get feedback. I hear that all the time of asking people, is there anything else that you'd like us to do? Is there anything we could be doing differently that would make you feel differently? Because it's important that everybody feels safe. But is it ever safe enough? I mean, you can only do so much, there's always going to be that doubt, but we can definitely feel confident that we are educating and taking the right measures.
So just curious, Josh, do you have an incentive or recognition program for your employees' suggestions, like since you're actively sending out and getting feedback from them?
We do. So from a feedback standpoint, maybe the incentive there is more as we've kind of created like Outstanding Coworker of the Month, which is a recognition program. This highlights efforts a team member has gone through. So essentially, if somebody goes above and beyond or does something to help the company, or if it's COVID related and they said, hey, listen, I got a suggestion or this, we can nominate them. And the nomination carries for a month. They get to carry the trophy, and they get the parking spot out front. So
That's
if
awesome.
anybody wants to dream something up, they can. But guess what? You get that spot for a month, and you can gloat with it and show everybody like, hey, because you made a difference. So we definitely want to recognize people. And then we do fun stuff in the workplace. If we're going to do a costume contest or Halloween, I mean, recognition, we definitely try to give everybody the opportunity to go above and beyond and be recognized for it.
So back to making it safe enough, how did you guys determine when you were ready to let customers back into your facility again?
I like this question because that's something that I continually ask myself. Truly, how it comes down to it is that trying to get a read on the employees. It's one thing to ask and everyone says, I think we're okay. Or somebody says, I'm not really sure. But if you take a survey and you get to see the anonymous responses, if we aren't half of the employees or more, we're not going to open it up. Because that means over half of anybody coming into this building doesn't feel comfortable. So we take the surveys. We also follow the CDC guidelines and then the Minnesota Department of Health and talk about that. We created an environment that customers still can come in. We have a front vestibule, and there's a PVC protection between us and the employees. Right. So everybody has to follow the CDC guidelines. If you have service workers that need to come in, they've got to wear their masks. Everybody has to be, accompanied. And there's a check out and sign in. So, but really, truly is up to the employees. Because if I create an environment that somebody doesn't feel safe or other people, it's going to be difficult to come back to work.
Right. Are you allowing your sales team to make customer visits to other facilities yet?
So we are, and only to those that are practicing the guidelines or of the customer, as we would do the same with anyone we run into, just like at the grocery store. However, we're recommending over the phone or Zoom's calls to be the first choice.
Sure.
We're here to help others, and sometimes we don't have the options to not visit someone in need. If it's a food shelf or something else, because not everybody has that capability to be remote. So you have to make exceptions in some cases, but also practice, social distancing and be smart,
Got it. Well, Josh, circling back around, where do you recommend people to start on creating the hands-free environment like you've done?
Well, don't lay awake at night dreaming up all these ideas because you won't get any sleep. But I can definitely tell you to make a list of all the areas that comes into contact. So, start with making a list. You make a grocery list. All the items you come in contact, like light switches, door handles, etc. Come up with a plan on how to limit contact with these surfaces. And then also, too, how would the flow work? And, from a spacing standpoint. If you're used to having large groups and meetings, you can do it over Zoom, even if you're in the same office. But we're deep cleaning the office every other week as well. But I would definitely say make a list, take a walk around, look at your environment and how everybody functions. The good old water cooler idea or plan maybe needs to be, moved around or spaced out. So, but definitely make a list. And actually walk through and see how often you're grabbing a door handle. Can you enter into the building without touching the door handle, or can you exit into, into the shop or the warehouse? Can you go into use the restroom without having to do contacts? These are all areas that if you limit that, you're truly creating a much better environment for anybody, including yourself.
Awesome. Well, Josh, is there anything else you'd like to add today?
The only thing that I would add is I just want to stress it is really important to really know your team and your customers, as well as communicate with them openly to make an action that works. Each company is different and one plan won't work for everyone. Listen and take action.
All right. Well, Josh, thanks for your time today. I appreciate you sharing your ideas and expertise with us.
Most definitely. Thanks for having me.
That's all for this week's episode of the Safety Task Force podcast. Thanks for listening, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at BeastAgentWN.